Hey y'all, today I want to tell you a little story about how I used a loan to pretty much fund my fishing career in the beginning. I know I've been pretty transparent about my fishing story. I started out with a landscaping company, and that's very long story short, that's how I made money to be able to afford entry fees, travel, be able to go places. But there's a lot of layers to it that I've never had the chance to pull back to this whole deal. And today I want to talk about one of those layers to it. Of course, yes, I did have a landscaping company and that's how I paid for it, but there's an underlying story about this loan that ultimately ended up being the saving grace for where I am today. And I want to talk about that. So, I had a landscaping company. I used that to be able to buy boats, to be able to buy trucks, pay entry fees, to travel, lodging, all the things that are connected to bass fishing. I used my landscaping company to pay for that. Now, keep in mind, I'm building my landscaping company in that 07 to 2010 range. Most of the people on my channel are about my age. If you're anywhere from probably 35 to 50, you know exactly what was going on during that time period. 07, 08 housing market crash. That was a hard time for a lot of us in America. People just didn't have money. Companies didn't have money. In some weird way, that ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me, because a lot of people stayed at home during that time. And because they stayed at home, they built gardens. They found landscaping projects, they put in pools, and guess who they hired to bring to the house to make those living spaces more enjoyable? The landscapers. I think also just the American people, we are allergic to our money. We're allergic to our money. We got to get rid of it. But at the same time, currency, the international word for money is currency. Currency is made to move, it's made to spend. So, whatever. Long story short, my business is growing. It was actually a good time it was fairly easy to make money, but the more money you make and the bigger your business grows, the more money you need, and the more equipment you need, the more people, it's a higher burn rate. And so I grew my business to the point to where now I needed money. I needed to be able to get loans to get equipment, but I couldn't do that. Money was hard to get from banks. And it's all gonna make sense. I already know what people are in the comments typing already. Somebody's like, oh yeah, I got a kid that's probably showing his parents, Be-Like got a loan to fund his fishing career. And somebody else like, that's stupid to borrow money for fishing. I need you to hold on, Larry. Hold on. Kids, stop sending this video to your parents till you listen to the end. Then your parents are gonna be sending the video to you. So we couldn't get money. That's what I'm trying to say. We couldn't get money, or it's very hard to get money. So I needed money to be able to buy my own skid steer to do jobs with. Here's the hard part. When you go to get a loan and your business has only been, you've only been in business 2, 3, 4 years, first thing they ask for is 2 years tax returns. And then you show them the 2 years tax return, and they're like, oh yeah, well you're not making any money in your business, or your debt to income ratio is screwed up, and so we're not going to give you any money for this skid steer. We're not going to give you any money for a truck. We're not going to give you money for anything, matter of fact. Oh, you want to go buy a boat? Yeah, we'll give you money for that, but if you want to buy something for your business, we ain't going to give you money for that. So that's how that worked a lot of times, because in that time period, it was very hard to get loans. So I used to rent equipment to do jobs. That was real cumbersome, because you'd rent the equipment, you got to go, you'd pay twice what it was worth. Sometimes I'd try to do a job. If you didn't get the job done in a day, or you needed to change something, or you messed something up, now you got to get an extra day on that piece of equipment, and it just costs more than it was worth. And you got to take it back. You got to fill it up. It's too much to rent equipment consistently. Now, my dad did run a landscaping company too, and he would let me borrow his skid steer sometimes, but he was very clear about letting me know that this is his skid steer And you're gonna have to figure out how to man up and get your own money so you can have skid steer to do your jobs with, because he knew that I was taking the money to go fishing with. It's basically. So this gets to the point of what made me think to tell this story. There's a lady named Patsy at my local bank. I'm not gonna say her last name, but I am gonna say Patsy because this video may get to Patsy somehow, some way, sometime. I went to Patsy looking for a loan because I got a big job where I was gonna need a skid steer for about a month. Now I was gonna make a lot of money on this job, but I needed a skid steer for about a month. I won the bid. What am I gonna do? I needed a skid steer right now. I could rent one, but I'm gonna make way less money if I rent a skid steer versus if I buy one. So I want to buy a skid steer. I don't have $22,000 that I needed to buy this skid steer that I found. I don't have that much money, so I need to borrow it. So I go to my local credit union. Miss Patsy, I want to buy this piece of equipment for my business. It's $22,000. Can you let me borrow that money? She goes, check my credit, like your credit's fine. But Brian, we don't do business loans. So I'm like, dang. She says, listen, this was the difference between Miss Patsy. She said, we don't do business loans, but you could do a personal loan. So I was like, what is that? What do you mean? What can I do? What are you talking about? You got my ears. I'm listening now. So she tells me about the personal loan. She's like, we can do personal loans up to $15,000. But the interest rate's pretty high because it doesn't require a title. There's no collateral. So it's a high interest rate. Now, the interest rate was like dumb. It was like 12%, but it didn't matter because the money that I'm going to make on this job versus this little $15,000 loan she's going to give me with 12%, it's such a pebble in the grand scheme of things. And you're going to understand this at the end of the story, why it's such a pebble, why it doesn't matter. So Miss Patsy, she put me on game. Nobody up until this point had told me that I could get a personal loan or a personal loan was even a thing. I didn't even know that was a thing, that you could get a personal loan and use the money to do whatever you wanted to do with. You can use it to buy entry fees in your tournaments if you want to, but you're still gonna have to pay that back. So I get the personal loan from Miss Patsy and she signed me up. I get it, walk out the door, that $15,000, go that same day, go pick up my skid steer, go get it, go walk, send the check in there right for it, get to do the job. The reason I'm thinking about this today, the reason I'm making this video and it hit my mind, it was so heavy on my heart today, is I saw a post where Miss Patsy said she was retiring from the bank, and it sent me down this spiral down memory lane thinking about, if she had just not put me on that little piece of game about getting a personal loan to be able to buy a piece of equipment, I'd never get to fish the FLW tour. I never earn enough money to fish. I never earn enough money to buy boats. None of this that I have going on ever happens. I'll probably end up continuing to struggle through life because I did not know about this path that I could have used to pay for things that I needed. I never started guide service. The whole reason I started guiding is because I was trying to figure out how to get as far away from that freaking landscape. I was just so tired. I was over the landscape company because it just felt like a dead end road. No matter how much money that I was going to make there, that just wasn't going to give me the fulfillment that I was going to get out of traveling around the country and fishing tournaments. It doesn't compare. I can make $3 million a day. It just wouldn't matter. $3 million, I'd probably go back to it today. But the money that I could see that I could make landscaping wasn't enough to compare to the gratification that I was going to get for fishing for a living. So none of that happens. If that doesn't happen, I don't guide, then I don't start YouTube. The whole reason I started YouTube is I would take people fishing and I would realize these simple little things that they didn't know about fishing that I knew. The cool thing about fishing now is people are being brought to the sport of fishing through the internet. The previous generation, my generation back, we were always brought to the sport by a dad, uncle, father figure, some type of male figure, family figure. Maybe it is your mom, some type of family member, but people now are being brought to it by the internet. So these small little nuances that you just catch on to because you grow up around the sport, some people haven't experienced that yet. And I saw that when I started guiding. And so that was That was what got me started doing YouTube videos. And if I didn't start doing YouTube videos, then I probably would have never started the app that I started last year. And then the app grew to a place where I actually sponsor anglers now. I went from trying to get sponsors to actually sponsoring anglers myself. So none of this happens without Patsy. Like none of this happens if she not told me that I could get a loan. And so it sent me down this road of nostalgia, thinking how everything lined up. One thing led to another thing, led to another thing. Why am I telling you this? Let's get to that. Why am I telling you this? You don't want to borrow money to go to pay for entry fees, but if you can get a loan, this is why you're supposed to use debt anyway. If you could think of something that you could buy, my dad always told me this, if you could think of something you could buy to make your money make babies, the boats and entry fees is actually easy. You want to think of something that you can buy. So for me, that was a skid steer. The skid steer made me so much freaking money. It made me so much money. I still have that skid steer today. I bought it, 15 years ago, 12 or 15 years ago? I still have the skid steer today. We use it to make dirt bike track for my kids now. And me. You're not blaming it on my kids. But whoever you are, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, if you can think of a way, I know it seems overwhelming to figure out how you're going to buy a boat. It was overwhelming for me too. I know it seems overwhelming. At the time, I needed $3,000 a tournament when I started fishing the FLW Tour in 2016. I had never had, for the season, you need about $32,000, $24,000 in entry fees for the season plus travel. You probably $30-something thousand. I'd never had that much money in my bank at one time when I started fishing the FLW Tour. I didn't. And people think that entry fees are a problem in tournament fishing, and it's really not. It's really not. Think about it. When you think about tournament fishermen, if you're thinking this is something that you want to do, you want to fish for a living, you're a business owner. There's not many businesses, I can't think of any businesses that you could run for an entire year for $30,000, $40,000. When I was running the landscaping company, my burn rate a month was $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. By the time you buy materials for your job, by the time you pay the people that help you, by the time you pay your taxes, by the time you pay insurance, fuel, licenses, all these things that you pay, my burn rate for a small company, it was me and 3 other guys, anywhere between $30,000 to $70,000 a month. And so for fishing, you need $45,000 for a whole year. You could add some other stuff in there, and you might need, let's just say you need $60,000 or $70,000 for the entire year. It's not really that much. I know that irritates people when you say that. It sounds arrogant. It's just not. When you think in the realm of business, it's not that much. There's not many people that are running businesses for that low of a number. They really aren't. Whether you think that's a lot, whether you've got that or not, is not the point. In the world of business, and if you want to be a fisherman, you're a business owner, it's probably one of the lower numbers that you will ever have and you'll be able to run a business out of. So that mindset and having that experience and seeing how much money that comes through a business, it almost made me numb to the fact of then $3,000 entry fees. It's like, you're going to give me all year long to make $24,000 to pay entry fees? Let's go. I was like, I got my skid steer. All I got to do is I can work from 7 to 3, and then sometime between 4 and dark, I can do one extra job a couple times a week for X amount of months, and I can come up with my $30,000 by the time the year is over with. So I'd go to tournaments, I'd come back, I'd work, I'd guide, I'd do little extra jobs, I'd put in gravel things. Like there's a way. For somebody that's listening, if you can find some money to buy a welder, if you're a plumber, go buy you an excavator. Get a loan to get an excavator. If you got good skills, carpentry skills, I don't know what you need to be a carpenter that costs a lot of money besides just being good at carpentry. Go buy whatever that is. If you're a welder, go buy you a welder. That thing will make you money forever and ever and ever and ever. You gotta, like, learning how to make your money, make babies is the way that you're able to pay for all of these things that you want to do. I know that's always the question. How are these guys doing? How are these guys doing? I know everybody's like, well, daddy's money. Look, worry about your situation. Is it your daddy's money? If it's your daddy's money, go take it and do it, and you make something out of yourself with it. Because we need to stop. We also need to stop vilifying kids that grew up wealthy, and now, because their dad put in a bunch of work to afford an opportunity for their kid, which is what we should all be doing for our kids, you're not going to start vilifying him. It's not that, like, your dad should have done something for you, and then he didn't. Then don't blame that kid for that. Don't be mad at that kid's blessing because your dad didn't do anything. You can't do that. That is very toxic, accepted criticism in our society right now. I don't rock with that at all. But you, wherever your situation is, you need to figure out how to make money so you can get the things that you want. Make your money, make babies. It makes me think about something that I was starting to do. I want to do, inside of our Straight Up Fishing app, I want to do a team development program for the academic angler. What that means is anybody that's in school that's wanting to be a tournament fisherman, I want to give them a safe space where they can ask questions, do things. Like I just mentioned, a lot of the kids now are being brought to the sport by the internet. So there's safety things. They don't know how to drive a boat. Nobody's told them how to drive a boat safely. Maybe some things about etiquette. I'm not really crazy about that because it's so subjective to what you think is respectful versus what I think is respectful. But it just gives us a safe place where we can talk and discuss things is all I want to do. And then in the event, show them processes. How do I break down lakes? We'll bring in other pros and tell them how to break down lakes, etc., so on. One of the discussions that I have, and I get a lot of pushback on, and it upsets a lot of people, they say, well, this is something you probably should do for free. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It doesn't do anything to help that angler at all. I do plan to do it for a little bit cheaper, which is hard to get much cheaper on the app than what we already are. I do plan to do it a little bit cheaper, but that doesn't help those kids by making it free. Everything in life is a schoolmaster for where you will go further in life. So if you want to be a tournament angler now, by the time these kids that are in school now, they may be paying $10,000 entry fees. What's going to prepare you to learn how to manage and prepare and make your money, make babies for a $10,000 entry fee? Well, what you're going to do while you're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, you're going to learn how to manage $1 and how to take $1 to make it make $2 and $2 to make $10 and $10 to make $20 now. So giving them things for free gives them short-term gratification, but kills the future. You rob them of those lessons of learning how to make money. It does not help them. It does not help them. Furthermore, you can't build a product. You can't give them a good, valuable product without using money. That's just the way it's going to have to work. And I know that creates a lot of almost vitriol in comments and videos when you talk about this, especially with the youth angler. But I know for a fact, because I've worked with these people, I've been around these people, that's what helps them become better humans, is when they learn how to make their money, create babies. I think that's all I got to say about this. I hope that helps somebody today. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Hope this helps somebody. Hope it hits somebody. Hope a light bulb goes off and it changes them forever. Appreciate y'all listening. Hope you have a good rest of your day.